Hey, this is Leroy Cruz. Finally going to put something on my uh, art and music channel. What I have here is, I'll let you decide. Would you call this pastel? Would you call this paint? Would you call this marker or watercolor? Let me ask that again. Does this look like pastel, paint, or watercolor? Looks like pastel to me. Okay? But you tell me what it looks like. This is just a hot mess that I was making, and one of my favorite hobbies to do is to come home from work when I'm not ready to just jump into bed and get out my Neocolor 2s. As you can see, if you look at some of the crayons, I've been very busy. You can tell which ones I've used the most. The whites and the purples, the light blues, and the browns. Look at the browns. I use the browns a lot. I have those, and then I have some that I bought open stock. I have this set of 40, and then I have some that I opened, that I bought open stock. I have about 10 that I bought open stock, I think. They are pretty pricey, but I love them. They are worth the money, because you know why? Nothing, absolutely nothing, can be so comfortable with the paper and add such beautiful vibrancy and layer on the paper the way these pastels, these Neocolor 2s, can do. I've done other videos. I've done another video on Neocolor 2, but nothing, nothing does it, for me anyway, like Neocolor 2. I mean, I love oil pastels. Oil pastels are my favorite. Until I met Neocolor 2. Okay? Karen Dash. Me and her need to go out on a date. I don't know who Karen Dash is. She's probably dead and gone, and they just still using her name, but I don't care if she's 90. I don't care if she's 100. If she's still living, her and I need to go out on a date. This has got to be the best product in the world, and I am in no way, shape, or form, or even in the right culture to be like, being bought to promote anything. I don't work for Neocolors or Karen Dash. I work for Leroy Cruz, who is trying to go back to being an artist. And ever since, now I just bought a new set of oil pastels, but ever since I found and discovered Neocolor 2, when I want to do oil pastels, this is what I do. Neocolor 2. Right there, baby. Neocolor 2. That's what I do. Okay? Look at the blendability here. I mean, like, when I use oil pastels, I use like Gamsol or baby oil to blend the colors. But what I love about Neocolor 2s is that all you need is just a pinch of water for each stroke. Just a pinch to make that blendability happen even more than it already has, because it starts blending as soon as you put it on the paper. It looks like crayons when you put it down on paper dry, but it blends immediately when you put it down. It blends. The colors start to blend together as you put them together, and then as you wet them, this is what happens. Look at that. the amount of things that you can do where people that are professional artists who, you know, are experts at oil pastels, they spend hours trying to get this kind of blendability. Okay, they spend hours trying to get their pastels to do this, and they keep going over it and over it and over it again. You know what I had to do after doing all this blendability? I had to go over it and just make sure that all the little white dots were painted over, because like as it dries, as anything dries water soluble, you see little white spots where the paint dried and it left a little opening, and I think Neocolor 2 is best at getting away from that, wherever the paint was lightly put, especially where you pool the paint with water. When it dries, you'll see some white spots, especially when you're using light colors. And you just go back over those. Like here's one right there, right here by the purple. You see that? Now a lot of people would just consider that art, but some people leave that there on purpose. Me, I go over it. But Neocolor 2s not only are my new thing, but they work better than oil. They work, to me, they're more blendability than oil pastels. You know, so I'm not really into watercolors. I'm not really into painting. But Neocolor 2s got me into painting. Okay? Neocolor 2s got me into painting. And and I also love Inktense pencils, and I did a review on them too, and they got me into painting. But Neocolor 2 is my favorite out of everything in that closet over there. I got a lot of oil. I got a lot of oil pastels. I got a lot of dry soft pastels. I have Cretacolor that is competitive to this, that came out after this. They're trying to compete with Caran d'Ache. I have Cretacolor. I have Prima, Portfolio, August Loft. I have the soft pastels that are watercolor soft pastels. What are they? Charvin, Paris. I have those. I have a lot of stuff, but I'm going to be giving some of my stuff away because I found my spot. This is it. Neocolor 2. That is my place. Neocolor 2, baby. Neocolor 2. That's my spot. Here's something I did last night. The hair is Neocolor with I think that is marker and Neocolor. No, that's acrylic. I fine lined it with acrylic paint brushes. The ears are marker with Neocolor 2s in them. The eyebrows are Neocolor 1. The eyebrows are Neocolor 1, and then I tried to put a little bit of Neocolor on top for a more hairy effect. And I'll be doing a review on the Neocolor 1s. I love those too. The eyes are Neocolor 2, but the eyelashes and the little hair bubbles under the eyes, I overdid it. And those are markers, I think. The lips are Neocolor 1 and Neocolor 2 together. The neck is, while the paint was still wet because I messed up, I went over it with my Posca pens and put a little bit of brown and white to fix the mess up that I did on the neck. And it did a good job. It made it look more vintage. And this here is just a swatch of a bunch of blues I did with the acrylic paint brushes. And I love those two. The artist flow, or whatever you call them things, whatever you call them. That's what I use for this. But I love Neocolor 2s. And that looks like pastel to me, folks. I mean, I love oil pastels, but it's hard for me to pick them up because you're not going to get the blendability like I have here with just regular oil pastels. But, you know, for the sake of definition, I went back into oil pastels and started putting some stuff together. But here is my favorite. This is just some abstract hot mess that I did, and I'm proud of it. I'm going to take a photograph of it and show it to my friends. It's Neocolor too, man. It's beautiful. It's lovely. And I can't say enough that out of everything that I have, Neocolor 2 is the best item that I have. And it is not the most expensive. They are very pricey, but they are not the most expensive thing I have. I think the ink tints are more expensive than the Neocolor 2s. And I think the gouache and the acrylic paint that I have is pretty high in price, because I have a pretty high quality gouache. But Neocolor 2 is my favorite. It is the only item where I just come home from work, get out some watercolor paper, and go to town and make a hot mess like this. Again, Neocolor 2, I've used it on every type of paper out there except regular simple sketch paper. But I've used it on pastel paper. I've used it on Bristol board. I've used it on regular watercolor paper in 3 different styles. Mixed media paper. I use it on mixed media paper a lot. This here is watercolor paper. I like the watercolor paper the best because you can go back in. When you want to go back in and go over something again and add another color, or you felt that color is too light or too dark or too soft or too hard or whatever, you want to fix it, you can do that with watercolor. But everything else I use, the 2 items that best work with the paper that I'm using, especially regular old water paper, are the Neocolor 2s and the ink tints, the Derwent ink tints. Nothing is better than Neocolor 2s because they're pastel, so they go on the paper soft, and they're creamy looking, and so you get this look instead of a watercolor look, okay? I mean, you know, all pastel artists need to take a step up and salute Neocolor 2s. If you're not into painting, you are into oil pastels, you need to try a small set of Neocolor 2s and see if you like them, because that pastel look and the blendability, and then guess what? You don't have to worry about adding seal or fixative or anything like that when the work is done, because, you know what I'm saying, it's paint. Even though it looks like pastel, it's paint and it's done. And look, you know how paint, when you paint, it bubbles up the paper? Look at this. It didn't even bubble up the paper. That's what I love about these. It didn't even bubble up the paper. Like when you paint with acrylic, even with the ink tints, when you paint, it bubbles up the paper, and then like you kind of like twist the paper a little bit when you're done so that it will fit in a frame good or whatever, and your customers won't be able to tell that the paper was bubbled. But it doesn't even bubble the paper because it's so in sync with the paper. You know, this Karen Dash lady, you know, I'm starting to really, really fall in love with her products. I've never had a product of hers that was, you know, could be done better by somebody else. Somebody else might have been just as good, but not better. Neocolor 2s, baby. I think that's good enough. Thank you for watching, D-Roy Cruz. This is D-Roy Cruz, Neocolor 2, and this hot abstract mess that I made today that I'm very proud of. Thank you for watching.